What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And our special guest joining us today is Austin HEINBAUGH from Pro Wrestling Central. What's going on, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good, man. We're glad to have you on.
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Like I told you guys before starting, this is my favorite of all the shows you guys do, the debates. Hands down my favorite. It's different. Not many podcasts do this, so I enjoy it.
I have a special place in my heart for the flagship show that me and Chad do, but this is one of my favorites too.
Yeah, the debate's a staple of the tavern. So Austin, tell everybody a little bit about Pro Wrestling Central. You got a pretty awesome Twitter account over there.
Yeah, so started it back in I think 2014. It was actually a project for high school. So it was a high school project. Ended up creating it and actually started getting some buzz around it because like I tweeted so much from my personal page that I was like, all right, I need to get one just for pro wrestling because I just drowned my friends with wrestling stuff. So I was like, all right, it's time to make a move. So that was the perfect one. So I've tried a couple things with it. But I pretty much live tweet now. We built a good community. And I try to live tweet shows, but things have been hectic. But pretty much that's it. I mean, it's just your one-stop shop for everything pro wrestling, just fandom. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a great Twitter account.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can follow it. What's the name?
So at Res Central, so it's WRESCNTRAL. So at Res Central.
Awesome.
Plug in the gear too.
Oh, nice. That's an awesome hat.
That is an awesome hat.
Yeah.
We need to get hats.
Yeah.
Mike Belcaster, I'm jealous because he has a cool tavern hat.
He's got a one-of-one tavern hat.
That is a nice hat. I need to buy some tavern stuff.
I don't know why he has a one-of-one. We don't.
Mike, hook it up.
Get it. All right. Well, man, I think we should probably just get right into it. I know we all know the rules. It's your favorite of the tavern shows. So
let's dive in.
Let's get into it. All right. So our first topic of the evening: has the Royal Rumble become WWE's event of the year?
Yes. I know more people who turn in just for this event than they do WrestleMania. They just look forward. They don't watch wrestling, but this is the event they want to see. Why? Because it has the moments, the nostalgia, usually, unlike this year. Usually is the key word.
Yeah.
Surprises, story building, for the road to WrestleMania. I think this has turned into their biggest show of the year that people look forward to.
So are you basing this off of the biggest event in the eyes of who? The fans or the company?
Fans. The fans look forward to this event more than any event. The company still builds WrestleMania as the biggest event of the year. But with a good Royal Rumble, you're going to pull those fans in to stay tuned to watch the WrestleMania. I don't know what this year's Rumble did for keeping fans to WrestleMania. Saved them a couple of months of their lives, maybe.
Well, I mean, I will say for me, this is WWE's event of the year because I'm not a huge WWE fan, and this is I can't wait to watch the Rumble every year. It's always been the event of the year for me. It kicks off WrestleMania. When I was huge into WWE, I was pumped because it started new storylines as you're going to WrestleMania, gets everything fresh, and it leads up to the biggest show in the company's eyes because, for WWE, WrestleMania is still their event of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I agree.
Yeah. I agree with Tom, what you said. I think it brings people back in. I know people that kind of get back into wrestling during Rumble season, and why not, right? Because 30 spots, all the surprises in the world. Obviously, with this year's past Rumble, I don't know when WWE is finally going to pull the trigger on making new stars, but it's been difficult to see. I wanted to see Riddle win it, but I don't know. Part of me, I almost took this question like I was thinking, because Money in the Bank stadium show, SummerSlam stadium show, Royal Rumble stadium show. Do you guys think, and WrestleMania obviously, do you guys think that that's kind of, with them doing all these stadium shows? I know Nick Khan's so big with money and stuff like that. Do you think that's kind of taken away from the pageantry of the Rumble? Because I feel like it gets kind of, the water gets kind of murky, especially with, like, I love Money in the Bank. I just think that's such an exciting pay-per-view. But if you look next year, they're in Allegiant Stadium. So I don't know if that takes away kind of the prestige of the Rumble. So
I don't think it does from the Rumble, but I'm going to be curious to see what it does to SummerSlam next year. And you have 2 stadium shows in July and August. You know, are they going to be able to sell out back-to-back stadiums? People coming in, like, usually people come in for SummerSlam from all over too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this comes back, if it comes back to bite them in the ass or not.
I think it takes away from Mania. All of these stadium shows, it's like Mania used to be like this tentpole Super Bowl. Imagine if in an NFL season you had 2 other weeks where you had 2 Super Bowl equivalent games.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl wouldn't feel like this big special. I mean, yeah, they're in Dallas Stadium. They're doing 100,000 over 2 nights, hopefully. But like when you're doing 60,000 here, 50,000 there, I mean, does it start to chip away at Mania? I'm with you guys that I look forward to the Rumble more than Mania. And I think Austin made a really good point that it brings people back in.
Yeah.
It's almost like the event that can like recapture old fans, because I know me, a lot of us, we tune in for the nostalgia stuff. Like, oh, who are they going to bring back?
You're right.
How are they going to book the Rumble? I'm with you. I wanted Riddle to win. I thought it was a perfect way you could have got to Brock Roman without having him win that, and you could have put over a new guy.
Yeah.
But I still think if we were to do a test on the entire WWE fan base globally, I still think Mania is the event. Mania is the one where pre-COVID, they were having 40-50% of the fans in attendance were flying in from other countries.
Right.
Like this Mania is mania. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that still holds a special place on the average, but I do think there's a lot of people like us that tend to lean towards the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, 2-night WrestleMania this year has me tapping out. I don't want 2-night WrestleMania.
Waters down.
Definitely don't.
What takes away from the pageantry? It's the thing. Like 2 nights. It's. I just don't think Mania needs to be 2. I don't think any pay-per-view needs to be 2 nights.
I agree. It was better when it was Mania weekend with the Hall of Fame and NXT.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's way too much now. Especially they want to do an NXT show on night 1. That's just like before the night 1. I'm like, that's just burnout. Who's going to go to all these shows?
Right. And you're defeating the purpose of why you made it 2 nights.
Yeah.
Like they made it 2 nights because of that one debacle where it was like an 8-hour Mania. So now you're throwing in a NXT event on top of probably a 4-hour night 1. So you're essentially giving us 6-7 hours of wrestling again. And then there's another night. And we're not even including Hall of Fame and all of that stuff they do.
But looking at their roster, did they have enough to do back-to-back 4-hour nights without reusing people? Their roster is very thin.
I don't think it's as. See, I think that's. This is a hot take. I think this whole storyline amongst fans of their roster, they've gotten rid of everyone. They have no one. I think that's overblown. I don't think a lot of the people, they shit canned over 100 people, but I would argue probably 70 of those people were like, who cares? Yeah. There was maybe like 30 that were like, wow, I can't, these guys could do things for this company. I think it's overblown that their roster is thin. I think it's their roster feels thin because they don't fucking use anybody.
Well, that's
if
the
they would
thing.
use people, then it wouldn't be thin.
I just want to I want to read this fact, and I sent this to you guys too. The last WrestleMania men's main event to not feature Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, or both was WrestleMania 30, Orton versus Batista versus Bryan. The women's match closed WrestleMania 35, so there wasn't a men's main event. 8 years, the same two wrestlers have been in the men's main event for 8 consecutive years. The only two men to beat them at Mania during that 8-year run are Seth and Drew McIntyre.
That's crazy.
That's a crazy fact to me.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy, especially when you stack it up against, when you put it against Hogan's run. Hogan didn't even, they put the Ultimate Warrior over and they made him, off of didn't he beat Hogan at Mania?
Yeah.
Right? 6?
That was the belt versus belt.
So it's
certainly did.
Like, why aren't we seeing people take, okay, I get it. Riddle's not going to draw like a Lesnar, but you have to build them to get to that point. And
what are you
not.
What are you going to do when Lesnar's gone?
They have 4 guys. They have 4 money makers at the top, and then they have just a bunch of mid-carders. I'm not saying mid-carders, in my opinion, in the eyes of Vince.
Right.
It's like they have a bunch of middle guys, and then they have 4 or 5 dudes at the top. And honestly, you could say just 2 guys at the top, Lesnar and Reigns. But when you have people like Kevin Owens, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton even is just kind of, I know he's helping Riddle, but you got to push that storyline somewhere to get these guys some heat behind them.
Yeah. And supposedly they went to Randy Orton to book him to win the Rumble, and he told him, no, give it to Riddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to win it. So
you got to make them, my bad, but you got to make them get over at a pay-per-view that matters. It can't be Great Balls of Fire. You got to get on the big stages. So I don't know. That's an issue. Like Tom was, I was a WWE lifer defender, but after going to AEW, after going to a couple ROH pay-per-views, man, it's not even close. It's just, they insult your intelligence repeatedly.
It's so true, man. I posted a video on our Instagram yesterday, I believe, of Bret Hart. I forget which pay-per-view it was. It was when he had the blue cage match in the old blue cage, and he has the meltdown on Vince, and he's, you never believed in me, Gorilla Monster. He goes into this tirade, and then Steve Austin gets on the Titantron and responds back to him, calling him a crybaby. And watching that clip, I'm just like, it really bummed me out for the state of WWE today, because we don't see I know it's very popular to blame Vince, and they should shoulder vast majority of the blame. But even the talent, man, outside of a handful of guys, I don't see passion in the talent like the Bret Harts and the Austins, where you buy in because of the fire they're bringing behind the words they're saying. They believe what they are saying. I don't see that. I see people playing roles. I see people playing make-believe. And, if you look at late 96 into early 99 WWE, that might be the greatest run in pro wrestling ever.
Dude, you're talking about guys who are now handed scripts, so they might not really believe it. Whereas when you're invested in your own character, it's totally different, which is why AEW's
they can't fucking lean on that all the time. You can't lean on, well, he's giving me a script, so I'm just going to, dude, do something. You want to know someone who had a script? Every time he spoke, he had a script. Kurt Angle, and he fucking crushed it.
Yeah, he did kill
every time. So this whole they got scripts, so they're not doing their own. My dad always used to say, if you're going to be a ditch digger, be the best fucking ditch digger you can be. If you're going to pick up dog shit for a living, be the best dog shit picker upper there is. If you're going to get a script handed to you by a 76-year-old senile old man, Say those lines with your fucking heart. And I feel like a lot of
True.
times they're just kind of stumbling through shit.
Yeah.
There's a complacency in WWE, and you saw it on the Rumble. Now, Brock crushes it. When Brock's on screen, I'm invested.
Yeah.
I feel like this guy gets it. When Orton's on screen, I love Orton. Even Chad Gable has been pulling me in with some of his
Dude,
like
Chad Gable.
He's killing it.
The last few weeks I've been watching, I'm like, dude, this guy's reminding me of Angle.
Yeah, the comedy that Angle used to do. Like, there are guys that are doing it. Kevin Owens, I love Kevin Owens, but there's just this overall stigma that really sullies. I know we went completely off the fucking debate topic,
okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have anything else to say? We'll move on.
We're good.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our next topic of the evening. Now, Austin, this is the topic that you had brought to the table. Will the new look Ring of Honor operate as an indie or weekly episodic promotion? This is a good
question.
Yeah. So my first 2 ROH shows. So I was at Best in the World in July, I think it was. And then I was at Final Battle. And I'll tell you what, first off, very thankful that ROH it looks like they're going to continue to run as a company, which is good. Because I know with the hiatus, there was a lot of people worried about that. But I will tell you, like, I've never been to an event where people are just so invested in the product. So I am all for it. And there's a couple things I've looked up as to whether or not they're going to operate on indie. My personal opinion, I think they're going to be an indie promotion, more of like just stacked super cards like they're going to have in Texas, because Sinclair it seems like they refuse to invest money into the company. Back when All In happened, they had all the chance in the world to really boast that brand. So, and 2, I saw online that they're averaging, like, I would watch their YouTube shows and they're averaging 400,000 viewers a week on their YouTube content. So
wow,
they still have a mass following. I just, like I said, based off of Sinclair and how they've run things, I think personally it's going to continue to run as an indie promotion.
Is Sinclair still over them?
I checked, and yes, they still are. So,
yeah, I think you're probably onto something, because I don't see them going to TV. I don't see if Sinclair's still involved. They look at ROH just as content to fill their programming.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about wrestling. They don't care about building a company or investing in the future of it. It's like, hey, this thing runs. It's easy content to fill an hour block. But I think ROH is going to look to the GCWs of the world, and they're going to get into a place where I think they're going to save money by not doing long-term contracts. It's going to be by appearance. They're going to do appearance deals where, we put on a super card in Texas. We get a bunch of former ROH guys and guys on the indies to come do the show. And we have no contractual obligations to pay them beyond that. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what's going to happen, because when you talk about Sinclair and how they treat ROH, one, when they are on TV, it's never in order. You can never follow a storyline as to what's going on. What they do is they put it in between the salad slicer commercial and a Flex Seal commercial. It's whatever they can get in to fill that time slot. And if they can pick an episode to put it in there, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So even if Sinclair does decide that they want to do that, I don't want to see him do that. I don't want that to happen. I want him to go the GCW route, the indie route, and have those big, not long-term contract super shows.
There's been so many times on my DVR I've pulled up an episode of ROH, clicked play on it, and I'm watching Ron Propeel sell me a fucking beef jerky machine. Like, it's not even when it's not even on when it says it's on.
OxyClean. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly what you guys said. I think they're gonna go the GCW route. I think that makes the most sense for them.
Yeah.
Like you said, it just, it saves you money, but you still get the product out there. You still get people over. You still get your Ring of Honor fans. And you do it on Fight TV a couple times a month.
I think you do you do a quarterly big event, a tentpole event every 4 months. and then in between that, maybe sprinkle 2 or 3 little shows to kind of build your storylines.
Yeah.
And I guess my question would be to you guys is, do you think with them doing this, with them not being a valid mainstream national promotion now, and if they would take that indie direction, do you think this takes away from the kind of allure and luster of ROH's reputation?
I think initially it might, but I think in the long run it's going to build it up more.
I think ROH fans are so loyal. So as long as the brand is still existent, like there was a lot of at Final Battle, there was a lot of people that were nervous. Like when we were standing in line to get in the arena, they were like, well, shit, man, is this it? So I think people are just going to be happy that it's still, whether they do the 4 big shows and 2 minor shows, I think they're just going to be happy that the ROH brand is going to still exist. And I love that they are doing the Hall of Fame because so many influential wrestlers have come through ROH, and I think that's super meaningful. I think that has more of a aura to it than the WWE Hall of Fame, because it seems like they put anyone in there, but not to compare.
Oh no, yeah, and I think you're spot on. I think you're totally spot on, because those fans, I think, will rally behind the company if they know it's not dead in the water. I think they could do something really cool with this. If it's just an independent promotion, like right now, what we're seeing, if they use what we're seeing right now as kind of a template of how ROH is going to run, with Jonathan Gresham popping up on Impact defending the ROH title, popping up on GCW defending the ROH title. You've got the faction in Impact right now called Honor No More with Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vincent, and PCO with Maria. Like, if you see those guys, and I know Mike Bennett and Taven have shown up on NWA, if ROH kind of takes the whole direction that Matt Cardona is doing right now, where they're working with all these other smaller companies and all their storylines are kind of interweaving between them, this could be very, very cool for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an awesome type of storyline. Something we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like a whole company that'll captivate people that are, and you get new eyes from everywhere. You get Ring of Honor fans watching other stuff, and you get other people who have never seen these guys become Ring of Honor fans. It's the best of both worlds.
And who's to say that people from these promotions that they're working with don't show up on a big ROH tentpole event?
Yeah, exactly.
Because right now, it was just announced, I think earlier today or yesterday, the Briscoes have entered NWA's Crockett Cup, 16 tag teams, and they've entered that. So it's like, who's to say Strictly Business from NWA doesn't show up to feud with the Briscoes at an ROH show? So the cross-pollination of all these, the NWAs, the MLWs, the Impacts, the ROHs, that could be a lot of fun.
And I think those companies need each other too.
I think they do too.
I think that they definitely need each other. And I think now with the Hall of Fame, Briscoes are the first ones to go in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's going to happen over the weekend, April 1st weekend, right?
I believe so.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, man.
Cool. And even down the road, you'll wind up with the Ring of Honor versus GCW show. How cool would that be?
Exactly. I mean, the Briscoes just dropped those titles. They were the GCW champs. So it's like you are seeing there's something going on. And I think, Steve, you made a great point, because when you're looking at the state of the industry, there's the 3 monoliths in wrestling. There's obviously WWE, there's AEW, and I would say there's New Japan.
Yep.
Those are like the 3 global big proven companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all the other guys. And if all the other guys want to offer something truly unique and different, they do have to work together.
Yeah. It strengthens them all. It doesn't hurt anybody. It just strengthens them all.
Yeah.
I agree. Especially the smaller companies, they need to have that everybody eats mentality for sure. Yep.
It elevates everybody and it makes the product so much better.
Yeah,
it makes it exciting. Like when you're watching Impact, are you going to see the Briscoes show up?
Right.
Or, who are you going to see show up? And which I'll say we're going to
that's the thing that's making Impact interesting right now is you have the ROH faction showing up, and then you also have the fucking Bullet Club. You have Gorillas of Destiny, Jay White, they're showing up. So you've got New Japan people popping in. And then you throw in Matt Cardona, who's like doing Bullet Impact Club stuff. Yeah, Bullet Club. Mm-hmm. Then you have like, Chelsea Green going to GCW with Matt Cardona. You have all of the incestuous things going on with these companies. I love it.
Yeah. And we'll get in. If you guys want to get into it, we can move into the last topic because we're treading into it now. So let's go ahead and move into the last topic of the evening, which is, will Matt Cardona elevate NWA to new heights?
He's not going to hurt them. I think he will. Guy's got a mind on him for getting himself over, but getting GCW over. He did it at the same time. Like, it worked for him, but look what it did for GCW. So many people who didn't know GCW's name 6 months ago are now ordering their pay-per-views. Exactly. Yeah. Austin, me, I didn't know much about GCW. I don't think I've heard of them before he went over there.
I had kept up with them a little bit just because Joey Janela and Spring Break and all of that, but like Cardona put them on the map.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. So like NWA going to be free again right when Cardona comes in, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he went to them and said, guys, how are you going to get new people to watch your show when they're behind a paywall? How are you going to get you're not going to get new fans if you have to pay for it. You're not. Nobody's going to discover that talent. Nobody's going to discover that show.
I don't think it took Cardona for them to realize that, though. I think they were seeing the traction they had before they went behind the paywall, and then they went behind the paywall, and they were like, "Yeah, this isn't working."
But now he's there. Now he'll bring some GCW people over with him. Fans. He'll bring Impact fans over. He'll bring Zack Ryder fans over. He brings the major pod fans over there to see this stuff they haven't seen before. Like it's gonna benefit them big time because he's doing stories that we've never seen done before because he's a fan and he knows what fans want to see.
Yeah, I thought he had a good interview. I think you guys mentioned this on Busted Open, how he really wants to. First off, the Trevor Murdoch thing is so accurate. I think you put the strap on him, you were going to bring so many eyes to it. And the reason I love Cardona is his stories ever since he's had that freedom are real. And I think that's what we're all like looking for. That's what you guys mention all the time is he provides a realism to his stories, and his interactions with the fans is like, he got me to order GCW. I started watching the fucking GCW show because of you guys. But I mean, like, he got me to order that pay-per-view and me be super invested and excited because what he's doing, like, it's unmatched. Like, me personally, I'm huge in MJF right now. Love MJF. Love what Roman's doing. And Cardona's right up there with those three guys. Like, he is just,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, feeling it. So I think he's going to bring him. And like, too, how he wants to update because my dad, me and him used to watch NWA when I was young, and even with the network and stuff like that. But like, they need to kind of appeal to these younger audiences because you're never going to grow. You can't keep pulling that nostalgic act. So even with the presentation and stuff, but he got me to tune in to NWA, their YouTube show. I checked it out after that interview. So he brings eyes to the product, and that's definitely true. So
yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, me and Sneed, like, Power before the pandemic was one of our top shows.
Yeah.
Loved it. And then they really got hurt by it. And I agree with Cardona. Like, dude, you can't rely on the nostalgia act. Those fans that grew up watching Georgia Championship Wrestling are going to fucking die one day. Yeah. Like, you need young people to tune into your stuff. You can't rely on the people that's like, oh, me and my grandpa used to watch it just like this. Like, okay, cool. But those, you don't want your demographic to be 60 plus.
Hey, man, Ricky and Robert are retiring.
Yeah.
Ricky and Robert are going away.
Now, that being said, I love the vibe. I love the
Yeah.
retro look. I love the studio. I love that they shoot it in the studio. I love the way the ring looks.
Their ring is my favorite ring in professional wrestling.
The way it looks, the way it sounds, the
Yep.
way they mic it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're there live. That's, you know, they don't deaden it. They don't put the
They don't wrap the boards with the pads.
with the pads. It sounds loud. I love all of that. But dude, you've got to update it a little bit. You got to have entrance music. You got to have something that brings the younger viewer in. Back to the debate question at hand. Will he bring NWA to new heights? If it's up to him,
Yeah.
like that's my worry. Like is Billy Corgan so dug in to that territory style of wrestling that does he hear a critique about entrance music and kind of snub his nose at it and like, no, we're not doing that? You know, is his heels dug in the sand on certain things like that? Is Cardona just saying shit like that as his heel persona? Or is he, we all think that Cardona's bringing a reality to wrestling, which is what I'm connecting to in his stories.
Right.
But is he really pushing for that shit behind the scenes? Is he really going to Billy Corgan and being like, hey, you should think about doing this, this, and this? Or is he just taking things that people think about and using it to create this heel persona so those NWA fans are like, fuck you, we don't need entrance music. We don't need that. Because it's what he's doing in GCW too. I mean, he came into GCW and said, you guys need ring skirts, you need better production. So he's essentially doing the same thing with NWA. So I just wonder, like, are these actual conversations he's having, like, not kayfabe, like shoot combos that he's having with Billy Corgan where he's like, hey, we could build this, let me help you. And is Corgan listening, or is this all a part of the act?
I think Corgan may have to look, because he came into GCW and said that, and they did it.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah, they had a fucking ring skirt at the Hammerstein.
He came in and said all that shit, and then they did it.
And
they
their
upped their
production was
production
better.
back.
Yep.
So I think Corgan, even if he does have his heels dug in the sand a little bit, I think he has to listen or at least see that this is what that has done for GCW, and then kind of try to mirror that. I mean, Cardona's coming in, and the guy's hot right now.
He's super, super on fire. Like,
so
yeah,
I think even if his heels are dug in the sand, I think he may have to unstick him just a touch.
Do you know what? Okay. Matt Cardona wins the 10 pounds of gold from Trevor Murdoch, the title that fucking Dusty held, the title that Flair held, that Harley Race held. He holds that with this heel persona. You can't tell me that's not going to bring a shit ton of new eyes. Like with his promos he's cutting, just being this kind of pompous, arrogant asshole. Like with him holding that title, Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, is the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. That's the biggest title he's ever held.
Yep.
I mean, to me, that's one of the top 2 or 3 most important titles in the history of professional wrestling.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I love the IC belt, and I know he won that for one night only at Mania, but the NWA 10 pounds of gold fucking destroys the IC belt.
Yeah.
Like, if he becomes the NWA World Champion, that's massive for NWA. How could it not help that company? So if Corgan has him lose to fucking Trevor Murdoch and doesn't follow through with that, he's an idiot.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, I think Cardona too. I listen to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. He has that everybody eats mentality. So the shit he's saying, I actually believe it. And even with the GCW stuff, like he always mentions how he's talking to Brett and how he's giving them advice and tips and all that stuff. And I really do think like he knows that if pro wrestling's flourishing, he knows that he's going to be doing well. So, I mean, he better get the strap. That's all I'm saying. If he does not,
Yeah, I think I want to switch the debate question just really quick. Okay.
Audible.
Going off of Cardona. And I know you guys all like are major wrestling figure podcast dudes. And I know Mike, a bunch of the guys we're all buddies with. We kind of like all connected Sneed and Tom through the Major Wrestling Figure podcast.
Right.
I am not one of those guys. I'm not a part of their Patreon, their Facebook group. I don't listen to their podcast. I don't do any of that. But I think a year or two from now, when we look back, I think Matt Cardona, and I'm not a Matt Cardona mark. I'm like, as far as like before this run, I could have cared less about Cardona.
Mhm.
I think he could be one of the most influential, important fucking wrestling figures in the world. As far as what he's done.
Yeah.
What he's done for, if he, imagine if they give him the Impact title. Imagine if they give him the GCW title again. Imagine if they give him the NWA title. Imagine if he helps elevate GCW to even greater heights. Imagine if he elevates NWA to greater heights. I'm talking about not kayfabe. I'm talking about just how he's impacted the business. Do you guys think 5 years from now, when we look back, Matt Cardona is going to be one of those top names beyond just the wrestling figures? I'm talking about the state of fucking pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to be one of the most important figures in the game?
Hey, listen, he stays on this path absolutely with what he's done. Absolutely. He's brought like a new level of recognition to indie wrestling and all these promotions. Like he's done a hell of a lot for it. So I mean, it's hard to argue it. It really is. Like you said, you had no interest in him before this whole thing started. You weren't a big fan
I
of
like
his.
him. He was fine.
But
I didn't really care.
It's fine.
But now you're invested in him more so than you've ever done.
Yeah, 100%.
Because of what he's doing. It's all his hard work that's done that.
And you see it. You can
Yeah.
see that. You can see that the guy fucking cares. You can see that the guy loves pro wrestling. You can see that he wants to make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Guy's got a great mind. He got himself over on the internet before anybody did. Now, they call him an innovator. Listen, somebody else was going to get themselves over on the internet after he did. Like, he was just a first. He was smart. He was young, and he did it. But he's there to always improve things and come up with ideas to make them better. You cannot deny what he's done. You can't.
What do you think, Austin?
I think so too. And like I said, like now that he has those chains off from a creative standpoint, like I'm so invested in his backstage vignettes and promos and stuff like that. It just seems so real. Like he actually like despises I always get a kick out of the GCW universe. He always, I don't know. He locks me in like way, because I was not a Zack Ryder guy in WWE. I'll tell you that. But from his character standpoint, that's why I love him. And two, like you can't deny he wants to grow professional wrestling. He wants eyes on different products. So yeah, if he keeps up what he's doing now, I mean, shoot. Yeah, he's going to be definitely very influential for the indie scene for sure, and pro wrestling.
And just to show you how the guy's mind works, Chad, you probably don't even know this, but while he still worked for WWE, Matt Cardona went to Vince and said, "Hey, let's do the storyline where you release me, but we don't tell anybody it's a work."
See, that's the shit I love.
He wanted to do that and go hit the indies and then come back to WWE like 6 months later. And he said Vince was kind of warm to the idea, and then he got laid off.
Sneed, you've always been a supporter of Matt.
Yeah.
Like I remember you talking like, no, Zack Ryder is a cool dude. Like not so much his on-screen persona, but I remember you putting him over to me way before I got on board.
Yeah.
What do you think about him possibly? Before you answer that, I feel like there's a lot of people there's hardcore fans that just look at him as, oh, that's Zack Ryder, the jobber. And they're not really seeing what he's doing. Like, dude, he's doing more than just what you're seeing on screen. Like he's doing a lot of shit for pro wrestling. But Sneed, what do you think about his future when we look back? Do you think he's going to be a major component?
I do. And it's because not only what he's doing, but it's because he has a love and passion for the business. Like I don't think anybody else does. I mean, I'm sure there are people that can match it, but I don't think anybody beats him on their passion for professional wrestling. And and I'll put him over on this too. The reason that I became a big fan is because anytime I've ever reached out to him with a question, he's available. And that's big. Like, the guy will always answer your questions. I've watched him with fans. Now, there are wrestlers that I thought would be really good with the fans that haven't been. Some of them that are associated with him. But to watch him with fans, he cares. And I think you sat there and watched him with fans.
Yeah.
And he was
the one I thought would be kind of snubbing people. And it wasn't him out of the three. I'll say that. He was the one that shocked me. I was like, he's a cool fucking dude, man. He's like a legit cool dude.
And it's because he cares and he has a passion. So, yeah, I do think what he's doing now, when he wins the 10 pounds of gold, I think it's going to.
When? I like that. When?
Ooh.
Yeah, because it's going to happen. I don't think there's a scenario where it doesn't happen.
Do you not like money, Corgan?
Right.
Do you not like money?
Yeah. You know what money sounds like? You know what money sounds
What's
like?
money sound like?
Woo, woo, woo.
You know it.
It's not the wrestling friendship; it's the wrestling business.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But I do think that when he wins that belt, I think that's going to push him on further onto the path that he's on now. But yeah, I think he will be. I think yes,
one of the guys, one of those
Absolutely.
big guys that you talk about.
Yep.
I think, like, outside of AEW and WWE right now, who's doing more? Who?
Yeah.
Show
Yeah.
me. Who's
And what is it?
Who? Like, who's doing more?
What will it mean to a guy like him to actually hold that belt? He'll.
Oh yeah.
That'll mean something to him, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, and people look at, like, I think that's a thing, like, outsiders of the guys who just look at him like he's Zack Ryder. They look at, oh, he's a mark. He's buying figures of wrestling. He's buying wrestling memorabilia. He's a mark for not only himself, but for the business. And old school wrestlers, even, they don't mark out for shit like that. So it's almost like he's looked at kind of sideways over that. But that's what makes it great. He has such a passion for the nostalgia and the art form of pro wrestling.
He loves everything about it, man.
Yeah.
Everything it has to offer. Like, not only figures too, but like, he has a passion for like merch stand stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like foam fingers and like
He owns all the
passion
foam
for
fingers.
everything.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the point you made, Chad, about complacency. Like, you can see that whenever someone's cutting a promo, you can see that they're just complacent with being where they're at.
Yep.
With him, man, you are locked into wherever you're watching it, because it shines through, man. And he's just on a whole nother level. So
He really is. He's hungry. When, he just cut a promo on Power like last week, and he's like, we're not invaders. We're not outsiders. Like, he knows. He cuts these promos and he drops these little tiny nuggets, and he did it in GCW with so many little nods to the past, so many little nuggets for the hardcore fans. And then he cuts these fucking promos. I don't know if you saw the one promo after GCW when he's in the back and he's just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb. The guy, when I spoke earlier about that video I watched of Bret Hart and Stone Cold and the fire and the passion behind their words, Cardona is harnessing that in stuff. Where when you give me that level of passion, I'm bought in. I'm there, man. You've hooked me. I want to see where you're going with it. If it's just complacent, I'm here, I punched the time card and I'm going to go do my thing, and then I'm going to go in the back. I can smell bullshit from a mile away. And with Cardona, I'm in. It's real to me, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can all agree.
yeah.
Yep.
Woo, woo, woo.
All right, guys. Well, anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, another fun episode.
That was fun.
Oh, I loved it, man. It was awesome.
one thing I've been meaning to say, though, is shout out to my boy Tyson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tyson and Austin. He'll pop for that.
Yeah.
yeah.
We love Tyson here.
He's
Tyson's
amazing.
awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, Austin, tell them again where they can find you.
So it's at Rest Central. So WRESCENTRAL. Like I said, I live tweet. It's just a place. If you're a pro wrestling fan, come on down. And again, thank you guys for having me on here. It's an honor, and I do appreciate it. So
Absolutely, man. We'll have to do it again.
yep,
Yeah, you always have a seat here, man.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, that's going to wrap us up for the evening. Make sure you guys are tuning in to everything that we have going on.
Get ready, Tom. Get ready,
You can
Tom.
find us at theturnbuckletavern.com. I'm going to shoot it over to the staple now. Tom, get your shit in.
The OG Fake Kid on Twitter and Instagram, and the sessions relaunches next Wednesday with Mike Belcaster, a whole new fun format.
I'm excited.
Yes,
I'm fading it out, Tom. It's time to be quiet. Court is dismissed.